A seemingly ordinary day, May 27, 2011, would become indelibly etched into the memories of many, unfolding as a day of chilling revelations and heart-wrenching loss. It was Michelle Lee's final day of clinical rotation at the Kaiser Permanente maternity ward in Hayward, California. The air was filled with the promise of new beginnings, not just for the newborns she cared for, but for Michelle herself, who was on the cusp of achieving her lifelong dream of becoming a nurse, a calling inspired by her late mother. Yet as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the hospital parking garage, a sinister plan was set into motion, a plan born from jealousy and rage. As Michelle walked towards her car, the promise of a bright future was abruptly extinguished. The parking garage, a place of routine and normalcy, transformed into a scene of silent terror. Her car, discovered later, was locked and empty, leaving behind a haunting silence that screamed for answers. Michelle's disappearance was not just the loss of a promising young life, it was a rupture in the fabric of a tightly knit family, a community, and the hearts of those who knew her. Born in San Diego on October 12, 1984, Michelle grew up enveloped in the warmth and chaos of a large family, surrounded by 15 cousins, numerous aunts and uncles, and her immediate family. Her home was a sanctuary of laughter and love, where she thrived under the guidance of her compassionate mother, a nurse whose legacy Michelle sought to honor after her passing. This tragedy struck at the core of her family, who had watched Michelle step into the role of caregiver and mentor with unyielding strength and grace. Her brother Michael and cousin Christine, with whom she lived, along with countless others, looked to her for guidance. She was a beacon of support, teaching practical skills and offering emotional solace, embodying the very essence of a nurturer. Michelle's journey to becoming a nurse was not without its hurdles. Her determination saw her through a 5-year wait before she was finally accepted into an accelerated nursing program. By May 2011, she was mere months from graduation, having earned flawless grades and the admiration of her peer, a beloved figure in the ward. The investigation into Michelle's disappearance was fraught with challenges. Detectives faced a labyrinth of possibilities with scarce initial leads. Yet as the layers of this dark mystery were peeled back, witness statements, forensic evidence, and surveillance footage began to illuminate the truth. The revelation was as shocking as it was tragic. Someone close to Michelle, driven by emotions twisted into a deadly obsession, had orchestrated her disappearance. Michelle's story is a somber reminder of the fragility of life and the unseen battles waged within the human heart. It underscores the profound impact one life can have on many and the enduring strength of love and legacy. As we reflect on Michelle Lee's life and untimely passing, we are reminded of the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of ordinary existence and the enduring light of those who live on in the hearts of others. The walls of the hospital echoed with the usual humdrum of a Friday evening as the student nurses completed their final rotation. Amidst the excitement for the weekend, Michelle, a dedicated nurse with plans to visit friends in Reno, prepared to conclude her shift. At precisely 6:55 in the evening, she informed her supervisor of her intent to retrieve an item from her car parked in the third-floor garage. Her white Honda SUV, a familiar sight in the dimly lit corner of the lot, awaited her arrival. Security footage later unveiled a curious sequence of events. Michelle, seen walking purposefully towards her vehicle, appeared to hesitate before abruptly altering her course. 17 minutes elapsed before her SUV was observed exiting the garage, a detail that would later prove significant. As the clock struck 9, the hospital staff assembled to bid farewell to the students, a customary ritual marking the end of their day. Yet, conspicuously absent was Michelle. Her coat remained draped over a chair in the break room, her phone rang unanswered, and her signature was missing from the sign-out sheet. A growing sense of unease prompted her instructor to collaborate with hospital security, retracing Michelle's steps to the garage. The third-floor parking area lay silent, its emptiness magnified by the absence of any trace of Michelle. Suddenly, her SUV reappeared, pulling into the very floor from which it had vanished. The instructor's voice pierced the quiet, calling out to the driver in a bid to halt the vehicle. But in a fleeting moment of hesitation, the SUV reversed and sped away, leaving a trail of dust and unanswered questions in its wake. The instructor, convinced that the driver was not the Michelle she knew, contacted the authorities, setting in motion a series of urgent inquiries. By dawn, Michelle had been missing for over 10 hours, her disappearance casting a shadow of dread over friends and colleagues who gathered at the police station, their collective intuition affirming their fears. Investigators, fueled by urgency, scoured the hospital parking lot, uncovering a chilling discovery: bloodstains marking the spot where Michelle's car had previously been parked. By 9 in the morning, her Honda was located in a visitor's space at an apartment complex nearby. Inside, her belongings lay undisturbed: her bag, laptop, and identification. Yet amidst these personal effects sat an unfamiliar ID, belonging to a stranger whose identity had been reported stolen days prior. The evidence pointed not towards a random act of violence, but rather a meticulously planned operation. Someone, it seemed, had intimate knowledge of Michelle's routine, exploiting it to execute a sinister scheme. Hospital records unearthed a further unsettling revelation. 30 minutes post Michelle's departure, a woman, masquerading as her, contacted the emergency room, requesting to speak with her instructor. When redirected, she left a cryptic message. The father of Michelle's children had suffered a heart attack. As detectives continued to piece together the puzzle, the plot thickened. Michelle's brother Michael received a series of perplexing texts from her phone. "I'm okay's memories, a dead battery," each one deepening the mystery surrounding her sudden disappearance. The shadows of the night concealed more than just the absence of a beloved nurse. They cloaked the intentions of an unseen hand, orchestrating a narrative of deception and dread. In the quiet corridors of the hospital, amidst the echoes of concern and whispers of fear, the search for truth began. A journey into the heart of a mystery, where each revelation brought both clarity and complexity. As the sun rose on a new day, the question lingered: what hidden forces had converged to rewrite the script of a life so seemingly ordinary, yet now shrouded in extraordinary circumstances? The unraveling of this intricate tale began with a series of perplexing messages, each one weaving a different narrative, each one deepening the mystery surrounding Michelle's sudden disappearance. Friends received texts that painted disparate pictures: a flat tire, a spontaneous retreat to Reno, a digital detox from Facebook and social media. Yet the most chilling was a curt, uncharacteristic response to her ex-boyfriend's inquiry, simply asking, "Who is this?" As May transitioned to June, the urgency to find Michelle intensified. By May 31st, the reward for information had climbed to an enticing $20,000. Within mere days, it ballooned to nearly double that amount. The Lee family, desperate for answers, enlisted the expertise of a private investigator. Over 100 volunteers rallied to the cause, dividing into 14 teams to scour vast expanses of terrain, leaving no stone unturned. The reward eventually soared to an astonishing $100,000, a testament to the desperation and hope driving the search. Delving into Michelle's past, detectives found themselves repeatedly coming across the name Chizelle Esteban. Once inseparable, Michelle and Chizelle had shared both a dorm and dreams during their college days. Yet time and circumstances had eroded their bond. At the heart of their discord lay a man, Scott Marasigan. Chizelle and Scott shared a daughter, a 6-year-old who was a living reminder of their fractured relationship. After their split, tensions simmered between Chizelle and Michelle, fueled by suspicion and jealousy. Michelle and Scott's past was marked by a few casual dates, but they mutually concluded that friendship was the better path. However, Chiselle's unease lingered, festering into a belief that something more lay between them. Despite the lack of concrete evidence, her demeanor towards Michelle shifted, colored by unfounded jealousy. Michelle, resolute in her independence, refused to sever ties with Scott to appease Chiselle's insecurities, especially since Scott was merely a friend. By then, Michelle's heart had moved on, marking the definitive end of their friendship. When questioned by the police, Chiselle, at 27, was unabashed in her disdain for Michelle. The investigation then pivoted to Scott, a constant figure in Michelle's life. Friends and family knew him well, and he was actively involved in the search efforts. Detectives noted his palpable distress during questioning. His sincerity was undeniable. Scott recounted the volatile history with his ex, Chiselle, a relationship marked by frequent arguments and emotional turbulence. At one point, Chiselle had retreated to her family's home, taking their daughter with her, leaving Scott grappling with concern for his child's well-being. Despite his efforts to mend the fractured family dynamic, reconciliation eluded him. Scott provided the police with a trove of messages from Chiselle, messages filled with venom directed at Michelle. One of the earliest messages seethed with resentment. "I hope you find what you're looking for in someone as disgusting as her." Another lashed out, branding Michelle a homewrecker and issuing a stark warning. These texts painted a portrait of a woman consumed by jealousy and bitterness, emotions that had seemingly spiraled out of control. The lives intertwined in this narrative are a testament to the complexities of human relationships, where love, jealousy, and suspicion can blur the boundaries of reason. As the investigation continues, we are reminded that seeking answers. We are compelled to confront the shadows within ourselves, where the line between reality and illusion often blurs. In the shadowed corridors of human relationships, where trust and betrayal intertwine, a harrowing tale unfolds, a narrative of love, obsession, and the dark recesses of the human psyche. The story centers around three individuals entangled in a web of emotions that would eventually unravel in the most tragic of ways. The tension began to mount with a series of ominous threats aimed at Michelle, a young woman caught in the crossfire of another's tumultuous relationship. The messages were menacing, foretelling a grim future for Michelle, predictions that she would not survive her midterms, cryptically suggesting a fate she did not deserve. At the heart of this turmoil was Chiselle, whose messages to Michelle were laced with venom and a desperate plea for distance. "If you were ever really a friend to Scott or me, you'd just leave us alone," she implored, eyeing drama. The situation took a darker turn when Scott, a pivotal figure in this triangle, revealed a clandestine recording of Chiselle. Captured in a moment of fury, her voice was cold, calculated, and chillingly calm as she issued this, her voice unwavering. "Whether you sleep with her, share food with her, or talk to her, you will be honest with me. Otherwise, I will take your life and hers." The gravity of her words hung heavy in the air, a testament to the deep-seated turmoil within. Scott, burdened with the knowledge of Chiselle's struggles, revealed that she had undergone a psychiatric evaluation, resulting in diagnoses of bipolar disorder and manic depression. These revelations painted a portrait of a woman at war with herself, her actions a reflection of the chaos within. Despite her condition, Chiselle's behavior became increasingly erratic. She would appear unannounced at Scott's residence, sitting silently until her presence was acknowledged, a haunting reminder of the past they once shared. The courts intervened, granting Scott full custody of their young daughter, a decision that only served to escalate the situation. Chiselle, undeterred, moved closer to maintain proximity, her actions prompting legal boundaries to be set. A restraining order was issued, forbidding her from approaching Scott or his family, a measure taken just days before Michelle Lee vanished without a trace. In a chilling twist of fate, the Hayward police found themselves collaborating with Fairfield authorities, drawing parallels between Michelle's disappearance and a similar case from the previous year. Both victims shared a surname. Both vanished under mysterious circumstances. Yet Michelle's case bore a distinct hallmark. Her car found locked and secured, an indication of meticulous planning by whoever last drove it. As investigators painstakingly sifted through surveillance footage, Michelle's family clung desperately to hope, their spirits buoyed by the possibility of her safe return. Yet this hope was cruelly dashed when forensic analysis revealed traces of Michelle's blood within the vehicle, a grim confirmation of the fears that had loomed over them. In the end, this tragic narrative serves as a somber reflection on the complexities of human emotion. It is a reminder of the thin line that separates love from obsession and the devastating impact of mental illness left unchecked. As the story of Michelle Lee and those entwined in her fate fades into the annals of history, it leaves behind a haunting question. What drives us to such depths of despair, and how can we find redemption amidst the chaos? Close proximity on the very evening of Michelle's disappearance. The digital trail painted a chilling narrative, one that investigators could not ignore. Chiselle's intricate web of deception seemed to unravel as each piece of evidence was scrutinized under the harsh light of truth. The community was shaken by the revelations. Michelle had been a beloved figure, her absence a haunting reminder of the fragility of life. Her family, steadfast in their hope, found themselves caught in a whirlwind of grief and uncertainty. They clung to memories of her warmth and kindness, even as the investigation veered into darker territories. Chiselle's actions, as revealed by the investigation, painted a portrait of a woman driven by jealousy and vendetta. Her past friendship with Michelle had soured over time, tainted by perceived betrayals and unresolved tensions. The betrayal she spoke of during her interview was never fully explained, leaving a cloud of mystery over their relationship. Yet it was clear that whatever had transpired between them had ignited a dangerous obsession within Chiselle. The GPS tracker on her car revealed a pattern of movements that aligned suspiciously with key locations in Michelle's life. Her apartment became a focal point of forensic analysis, each corner meticulously examined for any trace of Michelle. The trash bins were searched for discarded items that might hold secrets. Every piece of debris was a potential clue. Despite the mounting evidence, Chiselle maintained her innocence in the public eye. Her denials, however, grew increasingly hollow as the investigation progressed. Her vehicle's presence on Scott's Street and the planted phone suggested a calculated attempt to mislead authorities, a ruse that ultimately failed under the weight of technological surveillance and methodical police work. The discovery of the stolen ID badge and its use in the nursing school added another layer to the complex tapestry of deceit. Chiselle's audacity in posing as a student, roaming the institution's corridors with a false identity, was a bold move that spoke to her desperation. The footage capturing her movements was a silent witness to her plotting, a ghostly figure in a white lab coat navigating the shadows of academia. Chiselle's actions on that fateful evening, as she sifted through schedules and personal information, revealed a premeditated intent. The knowledge she gleaned from the teacher's desk was a roadmap to Michelle's routine, a sinister guide that would aid in her calculated disappearance. As the investigation continued, the weight of evidence pressed ever closer to a conclusion. The puzzle pieces, once scattered and disparate, began to form a coherent image. The community watched with bated breath, the media's relentless coverage a constant reminder of the tragedy that had befallen one of their own. In the end, the narrative of Michelle's disappearance was not just one of crime and punishment, but a sobering reflection on the complexities of human relationships and the shadows that can linger in the heart. The story, with its twists and turns, left an indelible resilience of those left behind. A chilling narrative unfolded as investigators pieced together the disappearance of Michelle Le, a vibrant nursing student whose life was cut short in a series of harrowing events. The mystery began to unravel when Chazelle Esteban, a former friend, was seen at an Apple store, pleading for assistance to unlock her daughter's iPhone, claiming it had been accidentally locked. Surveillance footage captured her departure from the store, a crucial piece of evidence that would later reveal the sinister truth. Chazelle's manipulation extended beyond the store's walls, as she utilized Michelle's phone to send deceptive messages to friends and loved ones, orchestrating an illusion that Michelle was alive and well. The digital trail was unmistakable. Cell tower data confirmed Michelle's device was in use, yet it was Chazelle who was behind the messages. The absence of a body did not deter investigators, as the mounting evidence painted a bleak picture of betrayal and murder. At the age of 27, Chazelle Esteban was apprehended at her residence, facing charges of first-degree murder. The evidence was damning. Michelle's blood was discovered on a pair of shoes by Chazelle's front door, and a strand of Chazelle's hair was found inside Michelle's car, with her DNA on the steering wheel. Despite the arrest, Michelle's body remained elusive, leaving her family in a state of anguished uncertainty. Their hearts ached with the unresolved grief, declaring that peace would only come with Michelle's return. The investigation took a sinister turn as detectives delved into Chazelle's digital footprint. In the days leading to Michelle's vanishing, Chazelle's internet history revealed a disturbing pattern of searches. Methods to secretly induce a heart attacks, of poisons such as carbon monoxide and potassium chloride. Her obsession with the case continued, as she scoured the internet for Michelle's name over 300 times after her disappearance. The nightmare materialized on September 17th, and her body was unearthed in a shallow grave 12 miles from Chazelle's home. The passage of time had ravaged her remains, leaving only bones, which thwarted the coroner's ability to ascertain the precise cause of death. Nevertheless, the California police confirmed the identity of the remains as Michelle Le, the nursing student who had vanished in May. As the trial commenced in September 2012, Chazelle Esteban maintained a plea of not guilty. In a dramatic revelation, she admitted to the killing, yet her defense contended it was an impulsive act of rage, devoid of premeditation, a claim aimed at downgrading the charge from first-degree murder to voluntary manslaughter. Throughout the proceedings, Chazelle's demeanor was unsettlingly stoic, her face a mask of detachment and indifference. She chose silence over testimony, offering no glimpse of remorse or regret. This tragic tale of friendship turned fatal serves as a stark reminder of the complexities of the human psyche, where the veneer of normalcy can mask the depths of darkness within. It challenges us to ponder the fragile nature of trust and the profound impact of betrayal, urging us to seek understanding amidst the shadows of the human condition. The courtroom was a theater of stark contrasts. On one side, the raw, unvarnished grief of Michelle's family, their testimony a cascade of tears and memories, each word a tribute to the vibrancy of a life senselessly extinguished. On the other, the accused, Chazelle Esteban, sat motionless, her gaze averted, her demeanor unyielding and cold. She was impervious to the emotional tide that sought to sway her, a silent figure amidst the storm of human emotion that swirled around her. The details of the attack on Michelle remained shrouded in mystery, a puzzle with pieces forever missing. Yet the prosecutors, with an icy precision, painted a chilling narrative. They proposed that Chazelle had either lain in wait within the shadows of the parking garage, intimately familiar with Michelle's routine, or had cunningly manipulated her into a trap with a deceitful message. With an eerie understanding of Michelle's schedule, Chazelle orchestrated an ambush, a calculated moment of violence executed with ruthless efficiency. The crime scene told its own story, a tale woven from the fabric of forensic evidence. Traces of Michelle's blood marked the brutality of the assault, the precision suggesting a sharp weapon wielded with deadly intent. The swiftness of the act, the seamless concealment of Michelle's body in the SUV, and the quiet departure from the scene, All pointed to a mind unburdened by conscience. Prosecutors described Chazelle as a sociopath, a predator who executed a meticulously planned attack, catching Michelle completely unprepared. The jury listened, weighed the evidence, and delivered their verdict: guilty of first-degree murder. Chazelle's reaction was as expected, stone-faced, devoid of remorse. In a chilling admission, she later remarked that she would have convicted herself if she were a juror. The judge, seasoned by years of witnessing humanity's darkest impulses, pronounced the evidence among the most disturbing of his career. Chazelle Esteban received a sentence of 25 years to life, a fitting end to a chapter of calculated malice. For Michelle's family, the verdict was a Pyrrhic victory. Their lives had been irrevocably altered by a senseless act of violence, a tragedy that left one family shattered and another grappling with the aftermath. During the sentencing, Michelle's brother Michael spoke through tears of a hospital parking garage, a place of healing turned into a site of horror. The prosecutors revealed that Chazelle, gripped by jealousy and a web of unfounded assumptions, believed Michelle was intent on stealing her boyfriend. This baseless conviction culminated in murder, a life extinguished by a delusion. While serving her sentence, Chazelle gave birth to a son. The child's custody fell to another, as whispers of paternity uncertainty swirled, casting shadowy doubts that lingered unresolved. In the wake of Michelle's death, her family sought solace in action. They joined forces with organizations focused on locating missing persons and advocating for victims, channeling their grief into a mission of hope. Michael, in moments of quiet reflection, found a sliver of peace in the belief that Michelle was reunited with their mother, an ethereal reunion that soothed the edges of his pain. This narrative is one of fear and survival, of the unsettling truths that lurk beneath the surface of everyday life. It is a reminder of the fragility of human existence and the dark corners of the mind that can harbor dangerous delusions. In the digital age, Rowe found statement, "Yes, it's real. Thin weight, hidden in plain sight." A young woman stood under the dim glow of streetlights. Her attire, a simple white top paired with loose black pants and Converse sneakers, betraying nothing of the tragic fate that awaited her. Her name was Debani Escobar, a name that would soon echo throughout the nation, synonymous with both mystery and heartbreak. Her hair, cascading down her shoulders, framed a face that was last captured by the lens of a taxi driver's camera. It was a snapshot that would become emblematic of her disappearance, taken along a stretch of road ominously dubbed the Highway of Death. The driver, tasked with bringing her safely home after a night of revelry, inadvertently captured the last known image of Debani alive. The enigma of that night began to unfold on April 8, 2022. Debani was 18, a promising law student at the Autonomous University of Nuevo León. Her life was interwoven with the lives of her parents, Mario Escobar and Dolores Basaldúa, both educators devoted to shaping young minds. Adopted into their loving embrace at the tender age of 1, Debani flourished within the warmth of a close-knit family. Her future seemed bright, yet it was cruelly snatched away. On that fateful evening, Debani departed her home with carefree optimism, bound for a party with friends. Her departure was routine, her return anticipated. Yetad reported her missing by 8 in the morning. The last confirmed sighting placed Debani along a notorious highway linking Monterrey and Nuevo Laredo, a road that bore witness to her vanishing. As the days passed and the search intensified, the case of Debani Escobar captured the collective consciousness of a nation. Her father, Mario, found himself ensnared in a web of extortion, as unscrupulous individuals preyed upon his desperation with false promises of information, seeking monetary gain from his grief. This only compounded the family's torment, casting shadows of doubt and fear over their every move. The timeline of Debani's final hours paints a picture of youthful exuberance and unforeseen peril. On the night of April 8th, she left around 11 o'clock to join two companions, Sarai, a friend of 3 months, and Yvonne, whom she met that very evening. By 11:30, the trio converged at a meet-up point in San Nicolas, embarking on their night's adventure. With a bottle of vodka in hand, they navigated the city's nightlife, their spirits high, unaware of the impending tragedy. Their journey led them to a party in downtown San Nicolas, but upon finding it inaccessible, they sought an alternative venue. A ride-share service akin to Uber ferried them to a rental house in the neighborhood of Nuevo Castilla. Their arrival was met with disappointment as the initial party had concluded, prompting them to continue their search. At approximately 1:10 in the morning, they discovered another gathering at Quinta El Diamante on San Monica Street. Despite being strangers to the host, they were welcomed in. Yet, as the hands of the clock moved towards 1:30, tensions flared. Debani, accused of intoxication, found herself at odds with other attendees. Her decision to leave would mark the beginning of her tragic disappearance. The story of Debani Escobar is not just one of loss, but also a reflection of the vulnerabilities faced by young women navigating a world fraught with danger. Her disappearance serves as a poignant reminder of the fragility of life and the shadows that linger in the spaces between light and darkness. He's interrupted, and the enduring quest for justice in a world too often indifferent to the cries of the lost. The dimly lit streets of the night are often witness to stories untold, secrets veiled in shadows. Surveillance footage captured an unsettling scene. A young woman, Debani, walking away from an entrance only to return moments later. The clock ticked past the witching hour, and at precisely 3:45 in the morning, cameras recorded a frenetic moment as Debani fled a party, pursued by a young man who appeared desperate to halt her escape. Their interaction escalated as Debani struck him, seeking to break free, but he obstructed her path, igniting a physical confrontation that soon involved others. Among them were Sarai and another young man, their presence adding to the growing chaos. Witnesses later recounted the intensity of the struggle, claiming that in her desperation, Debani resorted to biting those who attempted to restrain her. The night air was thick with tension between 3:29 and 3:36, as Yvonne, a friend, reached out to Juan David, known as Huss, via text, imploring him to take Debani home. Huss, the rideshare driver who had earlier ferried them to the party, became a beacon of hope in the unfolding drama. Both Yvonne and Sarai sought his assistance, alarmed by Debani's intoxicated and erratic state. By 3:54, David had arrived, and Debani, visibly distressed, entered the vehicle. The ride through the city's labyrinthine streets became a silent witness to the unfolding drama. As the car navigated the urban sprawl, frantic exchanges of messages continued, revealing that David had been given an incorrect address. Efforts to rectify this error were made, yet the tension within the vehicle was palpable. At 4:17, another surveillance camera captured a heated exchange within the confines of the car. Debani's animated gestures spoke volumes of her agitation, and in a fleeting moment, David's arm appeared to extend towards her chest. This singular frame would later fuel Mario Escobar's suspicions, Debani's father, who postulated that perhaps David had attempted an inappropriate advance, prompting her abrupt departure from the car. With the dawn of suspicion, David Suarez, the ride-share driver known as Huss, found himself ensnared in a web of doubt. As the last known individual to have seen Debani alive, he was thrust into the spotlight as the prime suspect. Suarez, a 47-year-old driver, was the one who had captured the haunting photograph of Debani standing alone on a desolate highway. This image, disseminated widely, became emblematic of the mystery surrounding her disappearance. Public skepticism was further fueled by revelations of Suarez's past, a criminal history marked by a recent drug-related arrest. Reports, albeit unconfirmed by Spanish-language media, suggested prior investigations into allegations of harassment and kidnapping of women. Despite the swirling rumors and growing suspicions, Suarez has never faced formal charges linked to Debani's disappearance or subsequent death. Authorities maintain that the evidence was insufficient to establish a direct connection to the crime. Suarez underwent multiple interrogations, and his vehicle was meticulously examined, yet no conclusive proof emerged. Amidst the investigation, Debani's friends Sarai and Yvonne also found themselves under scrutiny. Initially treated as potential suspects, they endured severe criticism from Mario Escobar, who condemned their choices on that fateful night. In the wake of tragedy, a father grappled with the loss of his child, seeking answers in a world shrouded in uncertainty. As the narrative unfolds, questions linger in the air, echoing through the corridors of justice and public consciousness. The events of that night remain intertwined with the complexities of human nature, leaving a community to ponder the delicate balance between truth and perception, innocence and culpability. In the quiet moments of reflection, the story of Debani serves as a poignant reminder of the fragile threads that bind our lives, ever vulnerable to the capricious winds of fate. In the shadowed embrace of night, a tale of concern and confusion unfolded, a narrative of decisions made in fleeting moments, of paths chosen and paths abandoned. Debani's friends, gripped by a sense of unease, believed they should have ensured her safe return home. Yet their accounts, corroborated by surveillance footage and a trail of WhatsApp messages, absolved them of direct involvement. The evening had been marked by an unsettling shift in Debani's demeanor. Her friends recounted her erratic behavior, her moments of disrespect, attributing these changes to the influence of alcohol. The night took an unexpected turn when she locked herself within a men's restroom, an act that defied understanding, and later attempted to leap into a pool, a spectacle of worry for those who cared. In their growing concern, they reached out to Suarez, a rideshare driver whose contact they had prudently saved. Their hope was that he could shepherd her home, away from the chaos of the night. But Debani, steadfast in her resolve, refused his assistance, declaring her desire to be alone. As the night wore on, her friends departed in a separate vehicle, a decision that would later haunt them. At precisely 3:59 in the morning, they made multiple attempts to reach her father, but their calls went unanswered. News of her disappearance soon swept through the community, igniting a firestorm of public outrage. The two friends found themselves engulfed in a torrent of accusations, threats, and the heavy weight of suspicion. April 10, 2022, marked a pivotal moment. Mario Balderas Rodriguez, at the helm of the local commission for missing persons in Nuevo León, announced the formation of an emergency committee dedicated to finding Debani. Her family, fueled by hope and desperation, launched a massive search effort, enlisting the support of friends, relatives, and local residents from the area where she had last been seen. 9 days elapsed before a breakthrough arrived. On April 18th, newly released CCTV footage offered a glimpse into Debani's final movements. This, combined with new testimonies from her friends and the rideshare driver, began to form a mosaic of that fateful night. Shortly after the ride commenced, the driver expressed his concerns to her friends via text, describing Debani's troubling behavior and his own unease. The driver, apprehensive about potential repercussions, sought her mother's contact information. When urged to take Debani home, he confessed his inability to do so without the necessary details. At 4:25 in the morning, Debani exited the vehicle near the Nuevo Castilla neighborhood, a distance of approximately 15 kilometers from the Villanueva Laredo highway. Mere moments later, at 4:26, the driver captured an image of her standing alone by the roadside, a solitary figure against the night. This photograph, sent to her friends, was met with frustration and helplessness. They expressed their gratitude, yet admitted their inability to manage the situation, citing Debani's earlier aggression. The messages exchanged between the driver and her friends painted a picture of a night spiraling out of control, underscored by the influence of alcohol and the absence of guidance. Despite repeated attempts, Debani's friends were unable to reach her parents, leaving them adrift in a sea of uncertainty. Suarez, the driver, offered what solace he could, but ultimately the night was left to chart its own course, a tapestry woven with threads of concern, misjudgment, and the inexorable passage of time. In the aftermath, as the community grappled with the tragedy, questions will witness of the night all converged in a poignant reminder of the fragility of human existence. Through this lens, we are compelled to ponder the delicate balance between fate and free will, and the profound impact of our actions, or inactions, on the tapestry of life. In the dim hours of early morning, a seemingly routine gesture of offering a phone charger became the catalyst for a series of tragic events. Debani Escobar, refusing to charge her phone, set off a chain of actions that would lead to her disappearance. At approximately 4:17 in the morning, the man named Suarez extended the charging cable towards her, a moment that would later become pivotal in the investigation of her vanishing. Debani's father would come to suspect that this was the moment Suarez may have overstepped boundaries, an act partially captured on the grainy surveillance footage. By 4:25, the situation escalated. Suarez informed Debani's friends that she had exited his vehicle and refused to return. He recounted that she had become distressed, pleading with him to let her out, and so he obliged. When urged to contact the authorities, Suarez hesitated, professing that he could not, as he had already driven off to continue his work. By the time he thought to return, Debani was nowhere to be found. Suarez later described her state as disoriented, possibly under the influence, her speech erratic and threatening. She claimed her parents were lawyers capable of having him arrested, a threat that hung in the air as investigators sought to untangle the narrative. As the night unfolded into early dawn, the Alcosa Transport Company's surveillance footage captured a solitary figure at 4:29 a.m. Debani, navigating the road's median before crossing to the other side. She approached the security booth, peering inside, yet never sought assistance. This footage, a silent witness to Debani's last known movements, intensified the investigation. On April 19th, a meticulous search was conducted on the grounds of the transport company, scrutinizing every corner and reviewing additional security tapes, yet no substantial clues emerged. The search extended to an apartment complex within the Candino Constitucion housing unit, situated about 22 kilometers from her last confirmed location. Investigators focused on this area after her phone briefly signaled there 2 days prior to her disappearance. Attention soon pivoted to the Nueva Castilla motel, prompted by data from her cell phone and GPS indicating activity in the vicinity just before she vanished. Despite exhaustive efforts, the search yielded no results. Meanwhile, Debani's father, fueled by desperation and hope, spearheaded a search along the notorious Monterrey Nuevo Laredo Highway, a road shrouded in dread, known as the Highway of Death or the Highway of Hell. It has witnessed the disappearance of over 100 individuals since 2021. The search party, a coalition of volunteers, combed through wells, water tanks, abandoned lots, and nearby streams, distributing flyers bearing Debani's image and details, clinging to the hope of discovering any trace of her. While Debani herself remained elusive, the search unearthed a grim revelation. 5 other young women, all missing, were found lifeless. Ireland, Ingrid, Brisa, Jennifer, and Irma, some as young as 14, were discovered within the same time frame of mid-April. This harrowing discovery ignited a firestorm of public outrage, as many contended that these cases only garnered attention due to the fervent media focus on Debani. The tragedy of their fates underscored a broader, chilling narrative of vulnerability and neglect, a stark reminder of the unseen battles fought in the shadows of society. In the wake of these events, a poignant question lingers in the air. How many more voices must fade into silence before the world takes heed? In the heart of Nuevo León, a region burdened with the weight of unresolved disappearances, a tale of tragedy and bureaucratic inertia unfolded, casting a shadow over the community's trust in its guardians. The digital realm of social media became a cauldron of public discontent, where citizens voiced their frustration over a government perceived to be languid and reactionary, responding only when the clamor of the people became too loud to ignore. Barrow Sanchez, whose sister Wendy vanished in the early days of 2021, articulated a sentiment shared by many. The machinery of the state only churns into action under the relentless pressure of public outrage. For those enduring the anguish of a missing loved one, it is not enough to wait passively. They must become activists, blocking roads, raising their voices, and doing whatever necessary to command the attention of those in power. The grim discovery that emerged 13 days into the search for Debani Escobar starkly illustrated the crisis. Her body was found in an abandoned water tank, mere minutes from where she was last seen. It was the evening of April 21st when the Attorney General's office of Nuevo León announced of their disused tanks. This tank, situated in a pool area untouched for 6 years, became the final resting place of a young woman whose disappearance had gripped the nation. The investigation was swift yet somber. Authorities sealed off the area, and a team of divers was deployed to recover the remains. The body, clad in a white top and black pants, matched the description of Debani's attire on the night she vanished. Her father identified her by the cross necklace she never parted with, a poignant symbol of her identity and the life she left behind. Yet the discovery engendered more questions than it answered. The property had been scrutinized multiple times, aided by the keen senses of search dogs and the aerial vantage of drones. Yet these efforts yielded nothing until that fateful night. How could such thorough searches overlook her remains, so close to the last place she was known to be? The inconsistencies deepened when forensic experts noted that the state of decomposition seemed at odds with the scorching climate of Nuevo León, where temperatures soared between 35 and 40 degrees Celsius. This discrepancy seeded speculation that Debani did not perish the night she disappeared, but possibly days later, with her body being placed in the tank posthumously. The motel itself, one of the initial sites of inquiry, had supposedly been combed with diligence. Yet the absence of any initial findings cast a pall over the thoroughness of these searches. When law enforcement sought access to the motel's security footage, they were met with a troubling revelation. The cameras were not recording, serving only as live monitors. This revelation only added to the cloud of suspicion. How could Debani's presence remain undetected for nearly a fortnight? Why did motel staff, particularly a security guard purportedly on duty at all hours, fail to notice anything amiss? These questions lingered, casting a long shadow over the investigation and revealing deep fissures in the trust between the public and those tasked with their protection. In a world where vigilance is paramount, the silence of those who should have seen, the absence of evidence where it should have been overwhelming, and the murmur of unanswered questions remind us of the frailty of human systems in the face of profound loss. In the end, it is a somber reflection on the necessity of truth, the demand for accountability, and the enduring hope for justice in a world too often shrouded in mystery. On that fateful night, the property stood cloaked in darkness, hiding secrets that would unravel in the days to come. The discovery of Debani's body marked the beginning of a complex and troubling investigation. Upon recovery, her remains were quickly transported to the morgue, where the first of 3 autopsies was conducted on April 20th. Nuevo León authorities, in their initial report, determined that Debani had succumbed to blunt force trauma to the head, which resulted in a catastrophic brain injury. The official narrative suggested a tragic accident. Debani may have inadvertently fallen into a 12-foot deep cistern near the motel's pool, perhaps after scaling an imposing 7-foot wall crowned with barbed wire. However, this explanation soon began to crumble under scrutiny. The initial autopsy revealed a significant anomaly. Debani's lungs contained no water, a stark contradiction to the drowning hypothesis. This critical detail implied that she might have been deceased prior to entering the tank. Listed as the cause of death was "Trat over the drowning theory." The enigma only deepened when her personal items, including a phone and handbag, were discovered in separate tanks scattered across the motel's grounds. This begged the haunting question: how did her belongings become so disjointed from her body? Amidst mounting uncertainty, Debani's father, driven by unyielding determination, commissioned a second autopsy at his own expense. He vehemently dismissed the notion that his daughter had simply tumbled into the tank, finding it inconceivable that she could have surmounted the high, barbed wire barrier. Investigators began to entertain an alternate theory, considering that the most plausible entry onto the motel premises was through the main entrance, a gateway that remained open around the clock, adjacent to an old, deserted restaurant. This long-abandoned eatery stood in ominous proximity to the tanks where Debani was ultimately found. The investigation was plagued with complications: conflicting autopsy results, contradictory witness accounts, and delays in evidence processing, each compounding the mystery surrounding Debani's demise. With every new revelation, more questions arose, igniting public outrage and suspicion. On April 23rd, a mere 15 days after Debani Escobar disappeared, 3 CCTV recordings from 2 separate areas of the property. This was particularly alarming as the motel had previously insisted that its cameras did not record and served only as live feeds. The belated emergence of this footage immediately aroused suspicion. Why was this video withheld for so long? What secrets were concealed within its frames? Was the delay orchestrated by the motel, or had the prosecutors failed to demand it in due time? Among the footage was a video, time-stamped at 4:33 a.m., capturing Debani near the shuttered diner beside the motel. She appeared to be running, perhaps in desperate flight from an unseen threat. As the investigation unfolded, the once simple narrative of an accidental death spiraled into a labyrinth of intrigue and speculation. Each piece of evidence, each witness account, served not as a key to unlock the truth, but as a catalyst for further questions. In the search for answers, one is reminded of the fragile boundary between fact and conjecture, and the profound impact of a single life lost amidst the shadows of uncertainty. In the dim hours of April 9, 2022, surveillance cameras at a roadside motel recorded the final known movements of a young woman named Debani. Captured passing through the toll booth at precisely 4:35 in the morning, the footage, later found to be 2 minutes off due to incorrect DVR time settings, showed her in solitude. Alone, she appeared, her presence unaccompanied by any other individual, an eerie preamble to the enigma that would soon unfold. The final confirmed sighting of Debani was at 4:56 a.m. Cameras captured her walking toward the looming silhouettes of industrial tanks near an abandoned restaurant. Her path was not a straight one. She meandered in a loop, a wanderer seemingly lost, or perhaps hesitating at the crossroad of uncertainty. The tanks stood ominously, encircled by a formidable wall, 2.6 meters tall and crowned with barbed wire, a fortress with no direct egress to the street and devoid of vehicular access. Inside this barrier, another wall, slightly lower at 2.2 meters, divided the tanks, each a silent sentinel of the night. From where she was last seen, the journey to the first of the 3 tanks, 2 of which stood uncovered, spanned approximately 11.8 meters. It was a distance fraught with questions, for it seemed peculiar that Debani had entered the motel grounds entirely alone. The absence of others in the surveillance footage raised unsettling implications. Was she escaping an unknown threat? Seeking refuge from a shadow unseen? Her repeated circling of the desolate diner at 4:36 a.m., captured by the unblinking eye of security cameras, only deepened the mystery. Did she ever approach the front desk? The cameras, vigilant yet distant, documented her until she vanished near a vacant lot at 4:56 a.m. The garden area, where she was last glimpsed, posed its own conundrum. How did she access it without traversing the main building? What drew her to such a secluded part of the property? The absence of surveillance footage from the footage deleted, altered, or deliberately cut. 2 weeks after her body was found, residents of the Constitution apartment complex stumbled upon Debani's ID card, rekindling the flames of inquiry. Concurrently, police scrutinizing motel footage noted an unidentified man entering a vehicle shortly after Debani was last seen. Yet, no tangible link was established between this figure and the ID card found. On April 25th, Debani's father, in pursuit of truth, formally requested an independent autopsy. The findings, unveiled on May 12th, delivered a harrowing revelation. Debani had been murdered and sexually assaulted. The report detailed multiple blows to her head, dismissing drowning as a cause and confirming that she had perished before her body was placed in the tank. In this tapestry of tragedy, where shadows and silence conspire, one is left to ponder the profound mysteries of human nature and the unseen forces that guide us. In the quiet echoes of Debani's story, we are reminded of the impermanence of life and the relentless quest for truth in the face of darkness. The countless women who have faced similar fates in a country where gender-based violence has reached alarming levels. Debani Escobar's story is not merely a tale of a single tragic incident. It is a reflection of a systemic issue that has plagued Mexico for years, bringing to the fore the urgent need for societal and institutional change. The timeline of events surrounding Debani's disappearance is as perplexing as it is harrowing. On the night she vanished, Debani was last seen leaving a party. The driver who was supposed to take her home left her on a desolate stretch of road, an area ominously dubbed the Highway of Death, due to its notorious reputation for danger. This decision, shrouded in mystery and controversy, left Debani vulnerable and alone, setting the stage for the. Her disappearance ignited a fervent search, yet it took nearly 2 weeks before her lifeless body was discovered in a water tank at the Nueva Castilla Motel, a discovery that raised more questions than answers. The motel, now infamous for its association with the case, was initially cleared by authorities who claimed an absence of security footage, only to later produce hours of video, casting a shadow of doubt over the integrity of the investigation. The conflicting autopsy reports only served to deepen the mystery. The initial findings hinted at sexual violence, while the subsequent autopsy in Mexico City concluded smothering as the cause of death, with no evidence of sexual assault. This stark contradiction not only baffled the public, but also highlighted the inadequacies in forensic processes and the potential for manipulation or error. Public outrage was further fueled by the indictment of 2 hotel employees, Ana Luisa and Alita Rithen, who were accused of providing false information and obstructing the investigation. Their involvement added a layer of complexity to an already convoluted case, suggesting that the truth behind Debani's death might be entangled with deceit and cover-ups. The case of Debani Escobar is eerily reminiscent of the mysterious death of Elisa Lam at the Cecil Hotel in Los Angeles, where inexplicable circumstances and hotel settings played pivotal roles in the narratives. Both cases have captivated international audiences, drawing attention to the vulnerabilities young women face and the societal structures that often fail to protect them. In Mexico, Debani's death has become emblematic of the femicide crisis, a grave issue that sees thousands of women fall victim to gender-based violence each year. Her participation in a women's march shortly before her disappearance underscores the tragic irony of her fate. A young woman advocating for justice and safety, only to become a victim herself. The questions surrounding Debani's disappearance and death remain unanswered, casting a long shadow over the ongoing quest for truth and justice. Who bears responsibility for her untimely death? What transpired in those 13 days she was missing? And how did the system fail her so profoundly? As Mexico continues to seek answers, Debani Escobar's story serves as a poignant reminder of the pervasive gender violence that demands urgent attention and action. Her legacy calls for a collective reckoning with the societal norms and institutional failures that allow such tragedies to occur, urging a transformation that honors the lives lost and prevents future injustices. Upon her close friend, perhaps for the last time, sharing her day's events and plans for the upcoming weekend. Yet, as the conversation ended, the night, Jennifer Teague's journey home was a familiar one, a path she had traversed numerous times without incident. This routine offered a false sense of security, a cruel illusion shattered by the events that unfolded that fateful night. Despite the comforting glow of streetlights, unseen dangers lurked in the periphery, masked by the stillness of the suburb. Over her household. Her mother, accustomed to Jennifer's punctuality, felt an instinctive dread creeping into her heart. As hours turned into a day, the realization that something was gravely wrong became inescapable. The family reported her disappearance to the authorities, igniting a fervent search operation across Ottawa. The community rallied, united by the shared hope of bringing Jennifer home safely. Flyers adorned telephone poles, and search parties combed through parks and alleys. However, the investigation initially hit a wall, shrouded in the mystery of Jennifer's last known steps. It seemed as though she had vanished into thin air, leaving no trace behind. Weeks passed, and the trail grew colder with each passing day. The city was gripped by an unspoken fear, the kind that settles in the marrow of bones and lingers long after the sun has risen. Then, in a twist that shocked everyone, a breakthrough emerged. A local resident, compelled by a gnawing suspicion, came forward with crucial information that would alter the course of the investigation. The revelation was as heartbreaking as it was horrifying. Jennifer's body was discovered in a secluded area, a place where the vibrant life she once embodied was cruelly extinguished. The community's sorrow deepened, transforming into a collective cry for justice. Her tragic end was a stark reminder of the vulnerability that shadows the lives of many women, a grim testament to the dangers that linger in the unseen corners of everyday existence. In the wake of Jennifer's death, her family and friends found themselves navigating an ocean of grief, their memories of her a bittersweet tapestry woven with love and loss. As they sought to honor her life, they became advocates, voices rising against the violence that claimed her. Jennifer's story became a catalyst for change, a rallying point for those who refuse to accept a world where such tragedies are a haunting reality. In the aftermath, the community vowed to remember Jennifer not just as a victim, but as a beacon of hope, a symbol of the enduring fight for safety and justice. Her legacy lives on through initiatives aimed at protecting vulnerable individuals and educating communities about the pervasive threats that lurk in the shadows. Jennifer Teague's tale is a poignant reminder of the fragility of life and the resilience of the human spirit. It calls upon us to confront the uncomfortable truths of our world, urging us to forge a path toward a future where safety is not a privilege, but a right. As we reflect on her story, we are reminded that the power to effect change lies within us all, a testament to the enduring human capacity for empathy and action. In the quiet hours of the early morning, Jennifer parted ways with her friends outside a dimly lit convenience store, their right from the demands of their daily lives, punctuated by anecdotes and camaraderie. As the clock struck 1:30, Jennifer bid her friends farewell, embarking on an 18-minute journey back to the sanctuary of her home. Yet, toned to the gentle rhythm of her daughter's comings and goings, began to feel a creeping unease. Jennifer's room, nestled in the basement, often concealed her late-night arrivals and early departures. However, the absence of any word from her since the previous night was a break in the pattern too significant to ignore. As hours slipped by, the unease transformed into a gnawing dread. Attempts to reach Jennifer by phone met only with silence. Her place at school remained conspicuously vacant, and she failed to appear for her evening shift at the bustling restaurant where she worked. This was a stark departure from Jennifer's character, a young woman known for her reliability and conscientiousness, who seldom left those she loved in the dark about her whereabouts. Desperation propelled her mother to reach out to Jennifer's friends, but they too had not seen her since their parting at the convenience store. Her father, equally bereft of information, joined in the mounting concern. With no trace of Jennifer and a growing sense of urgency, her parents turned to the authorities, reporting her as missing. Despite Jennifer being 18, the police recognized the gravity of the situation and promptly initiated a search operation. The unfolding investigation saw detectives delving into Jennifer's recent interactions, speaking with her friends and teachers to piece together her last known movements. Meanwhile, her family and community rallied, canvassing neighborhoods, distributing flyers bearing her image, and imploring anyone with information to come forward. The narrative emerging from those who knew her was unanimous. Jennifer was not the type to vanish without a trace. A pivotal moment in the investigation came when detectives revisited the events of the night Jennifer disappeared. Her friends confirmed her departure at 1:30 in the morning, each taking a separate path home. However, a new detail emerged. Jennifer had not been alone when she set out for work earlier that evening. A colleague, Mark, had accompanied her part way before she diverged to meet her friends. Detectives, now with a fresh lead, approached Mark for questioning. Upon meeting him, they immediately noted fresh scratches on his face, a discovery that set off alarm bells. Mark attributed the marks to a shaving mishap, producing his razor as evidence, yet the explanation was met with skepticism. The possibility that these scratches were the result of a struggle with Jennifer loomed large, casting Mark under a shadow of suspicion. As investigators probed deeper, the focus on Mark intensified. Each detail of his account was scrutinized, seeking inconsistencies or clues that might unravel the mystery of Jennifer's disappearance. The stark reality was that Jennifer's fate remained obscured, her absence a haunting void that left her family and community grappling with fear and uncertainty. In the quiet corners of their hearts, there lingered a hope, fragile yet unyielding, that the truth would come to light and that Jennifer would return. In a world where shadows and light intertwine, the human spirit clings to the belief that, even in the darkest of nights, the dawn will eventually break. In the heart of Ottawa, a mystery unfolded that left a community in disquiet and a family in agony. A young woman named Jennifer had vanished without a trace, leaving behind a void filled with questions and fears. The investigation commenced with a fervor. The police, driven by urgency, sought answers in the most methodical of ways. The first person to fall under the shadow of suspicion was Mark, a friend with whom Jennifer had last been seen. Yet the evidence was as elusive as the morning mist. To dispel any doubts lingering over him, the authorities requested he take a polygraph test. Mark consented, and the results were clear. No signs of deception were detected. This revelation shifted the investigative lens away from him, easing the pressure on his shoulders. Attention then turned to Jennifer's former flame, an ex-boyfriend who claimed their relationship had transformed into a platonic friendship. He maintained he had not spoken to Jennifer the night she went missing, asserting his cleared him from the list of potential suspects, leading the detectives to redirect their focus. Their gaze settled upon Boris, a 21-year-old local known for his turbulent past. On the fateful night of Jennifer's disappearance, witnesses reported seeing Boris's vehicle near the store where Jennifer had last been seen. Relationships between Boris and Jennifer were confirmed. He knew her. As investigators delved deeper into Boris's history, they uncovered a series of disturbing behaviors. Boris had been the subject of a restraining order due to unsettling actions, including allegations of stalking women. Those acquainted with him painted a portrait of instability, a man teetering on the edge of societal norms. Jennifer's friends disclosed that Boris had recently expressed romantic interest in her, an advance she politely declined. With this backdrop, the police invited Boris for questioning. His demeanor was tense, his answers halting. Yet when asked, he permitted a search of his car without a warrant, a gesture of cooperation. Among the findings was a broken window, a detail that investigators pondered over, speculating whether it could have resulted from a struggle. Boris, however, insisted it was a remnant of an unrelated incident. Agreeing to a polluct and the unsettling whispers of his past, there was no tangible evidence linking him to Jennifer's vanishing. The trail was cold, and the police found themselves at a crossroads. As the investigation progressed, Jennifer's family and friends, driven by hope and desperation, joined the search. They scoured the city, hoping to uncover any trace of her presence. But as the days turned to weeks, their efforts yielded no results. The specter of a more sinister possibility began to loom. A serial predator might be at large. This theory gained traction when locals recalled the eerie disappearance of Ardith Wood, a woman who had vanished 2 years prior only to be found lifeless, her killer never apprehended. The city of Ottawa was enveloped in apprehension as fear whispered through its streets. Could there be a connection between Jennifer's case and the unsolved murder? With this chilling possibility in mind, investigators intensified their efforts. They established a command center in a church near the last known location of Jennifer, transforming it into a hive of activity. The community rallied together, hundreds volunteering to aid in the search. Teams were organized to comb through different sectors of the city, while police utilized canine units and aircraft equipped with heat sensors in their quest for answers. In an effort to leave no stone unturned, detectives embarked on a door-to-door canvass, each knock a plea for information, each door a potential gateway to the truth. Despite their exhaustive efforts, the answers remained elusive, as if hidden behind a veil that refused to lift. Yet, the community's resolve remained unbroken, a testament to the enduring human spirit in the face of uncertainty. In the end, the search for Jennifer transcended the quest for a missing person. It became a profound reflection on the nature of justice, the depths of human compassion, and the relentless pursuit of truth in a world shadowed by mystery. Nightmarish discovery was indeed Jennifer's. Her identity was confirmed through dental records, bringing a tragic end to the relentless search. This revelation sent ripples of grief through the community, a stark reminder of the fragility of life and the shadows that lurk in seemingly safe places. The investigation, now a murder inquiry, took on a new urgency. With Jennifer's fate sealed, detectives redoubled their efforts, determined to unearth the truth behind the darkness that had claimed her life. The press conference held earlier, once a beacon of hope, now served as a somber call to action. Law enforcement officials, with steely resolve, urged the public to think back to that fateful night, to recall any detail, however small, that could shed light on the events leading to Jennifer's untimely demise. The community, once filled with optimism, now grappled with an unsettling reality. Parents clutched their children tighter, neighbors exchanged wary glances, and a collective anxiety hung heavy in the air. Yet amidst the fear, there was a flicker of determination, a shared commitment to bring justice for Jennifer and restore a sense of safety to their neighborhood. Detectives meticulously retraced their steps, analyzing every piece of evidence gathered thus far. The scream reported by neighbors, once a haunting mystery, now became a pivotal moment in the timeline of Jennifer's last known movements. The absence of her clothing at the scene suggested a calculated attempt by the perpetrator to erase traces, adding another layer of complexity to the investigation. In their pursuit of answers, investigators turned to technology, employing advanced forensic techniques to examine the scene and any potential evidence anew. They revisited the trail where Jennifer's body was found, scanning for overlooked clues that might have been missed in the initial sweep. The woods, once a serene escape, had transformed into a labyrinth of secrets waiting to be unraveled. The off-duty officer who discovered Jennifer's body, once a mere passerby, found himself drawn deeper into the narrative, his chance encounter becoming a critical turning point. His family, too, became unwilling participants in this unfolding tragedy, their lives forever altered by the events of that day. As days turned into weeks, the investigation stretched into a complex web of possibilities. Detectives interviewed friends, acquaintances, and anyone who might have crossed paths with Jennifer. They pieced together the fragments of her life, hoping to illuminate the shadows that had consumed her. In the midst of this turmoil, Jennifer's family emerged as pillars of strength, their resilience inspiring the community. They channeled their grief into advocacy, raising awareness about the dangers lurking in everyday life and the importance of vigilance and community solidarity. The case, though fraught with challenges, became a testament to the power of collective resolve. It underscored the importance of community in the face of adversity, revealing the interconnectedness of human lives. As the investigation continued, it served as a poignant reminder that even in the darkest times, hope can persist, a beacon guiding the search for truth and justice in a world where both are often elusive. Being the one responsible for Jennifer's untimely demise. His name was Kevin Davis, a figure previously unknown to law enforcement in this context. As detectives delved into his past, they discovered a troubled history marked by instability and sporadic violence. Davis, now in custody, detailed the events of that fateful night, leading investigators through the chilling narrative of how he had encountered Jennifer. That evening at the convenience store, Davis had been wandering aimlessly, grappling with his own internal demons. Jennifer, vibrant and full of life, had caught his attention. It was an encounter marked by chance, yet tragically preordained by Davis's dark impulses. The shadows of the night concealed his approach as Jennifer made her way home, unaware of the danger lurking behind her. In a secluded area, Davis struck, driven by a compulsion he could barely comprehend himself. The act was swift, brutal, and irrevocable. In the aftermath, he left her body hidden, the location known only to him until it was discovered by chance weeks later. Davis's confession, while shocking, was corroborated by details only the perpetrator could have known. The location of Jennifer's body, the items found with her, and the timeline of events all aligned with his narrative. Despite the overwhelming evidence, the confession brought little solace to those who knew Jennifer. Her life, full of promise, had been extinguished in a moment of senseless violence. The community, which had been gripped by fear and suspicion, now grappled with the reality of Davis's actions. His arrest and subsequent conviction provided a semblance of closure, yet the void left by Jennifer's absence remained. Her family and friends, forever changed, had to navigate the complex emotions of loss, justice, and the haunting question of why. As the legal proceedings unfolded, the broader implications of the case became evident. It highlighted the vulnerabilities within societal frameworks meant to be nature of such crimes, and the necessity for vigilance and community support. In the aftermath, efforts were redoubled to ensure such tragedies could be prevented in the future. Community programs focused on safety and awareness were bolstered, and law enforcement agencies reviewed protocols to enhance their responsiveness to missing persons cases. Jennifer's legacy became a catalyst for change, a poignant reminder of the fragility of life and the enduring impact of community solidarity. In the human condition, it spoke of the darkness that can dwell within, yet also of the light that emerges through collective action and empathy. Her memory, indelibly etched into the hearts of those who knew her, served as a beacon of hope and a call to action, urging society to strive for a world where such darkness finds no refuge. In this tapestry of life, Jennifer Teague's narrative is a thread woven with sorrow and resilience, a story that compels us to reflect on the complexities of fate and the profound interconnectedness of human experiences. Kevin Davis found himself unwittingly at the center of a maelstrom of suspicion. His life, once defined by the routine of pizza deliveries and late-night gaming sessions, was now overshadowed by the specter of a murder investigation. The death of Jennifer, a vibrant young woman whose life was cut short under mysterious circumstances, had left the community reeling. Her disappearance and subsequent discovery in a wooded area near her home had sent shockwaves through the town, and the search for her killer became a grim priority for law enforcement. The toxicology report that surfaced revealed a startling twist. Kevin, under the influence of a potent dose of hallucinogenic mushrooms, had confessed to a crime he claimed no memory of committing. This revelation presented a perplexing conundrum for detectives. The reliability of a confession made under such altered states of consciousness was questionable at best. Yet the confession could not be entirely dismissed, especially given Kevin's proximity to the crime scene and his inconsistent alibi. His initial statement to officers, made shortly after Jennifer's disappearance, placed him at home with his mother as a witness. Yet, as the investigation progressed, Kevin's narrative shifted to a night spent gaming at a friend's house. The friend, however, was rendered an unreliable witness due to a recent accident that impaired his memory. This conflicting account only deepened the mystery surrounding Kevin's involvement. The detectives, undeterred by the lack of physical evidence, found themselves revisiting the early days of the investigation. During this retrospective examination, they uncovered a tip that had previously been dismissed. A caller had remarked on Kevin's resemblance to a composite sketch of a potential suspect, a detail that had been lost amid a flurry of unsubstantiated leads. Now, in light of Kevin's erratic behavior and contradictory statements, the tip gained new significance. Despite their suspicions, the investigators were trapped in a web of circumstantial evidence. The absence of DNA or fingerprints linking Kevin to the crime scene was a formidable barrier to prosecution. The legal system, with its demand for concrete evidence, loomed large over the case, threatening to let a potential perpetrator slip through the cracks of justice. The detectives' resolve, however, remained unshaken. They pored over every scrap of evidence, revisiting witness testimonies and exploring new investigative angles. Their dedication was unwavering, driven by a commitment to uncover the truth and deliver justice for Jennifer. Then, as if by providence, a new development emerged, altering the trajectory of the investigation. A few weeks after Kevin's discharge from the hospital, a breakthrough arrived unexpectedly. This unforeseen turn of events held the promise of clarity in a case mired in ambiguity. The case of Jennifer's murder, shrouded in layers of complexity, serves as a poignant reminder of the challenges inherent in the pursuit of truth. It underscores the delicate balance between intuition and evidence and the relentless quest for justice in the face of uncertainty. As the investigation unfolds, it beckons us to ponder the profound mysteries of human behavior and the enduring impact of a life unjustly taken. Kevin, a seemingly unremarkable man, found himself at the precipice of a chilling revelation one evening as he approached his neighbor. His demeanor was composed, but carried an unsettling weight. When the neighbor, concerned by Kevin's demeanor, inquired about his distress, Kevin responded with a calm yet shocking admission. "Call the police. I killed Jennifer Teague." With those words, Kevin set the wheels of justice into motion. He then proceeded to a nearby store where he encountered a police officer. In an eerily calm manner, he repeated his confession, stating once more that he had taken Jennifer's life. The officer, taken aback by the gravity of the admission, escorted Kevin to the police station, where they meticulously documented his statement to prevent any future denial. Once in custody, Kevin was read his rights, and detectives ensured a thorough investigation by having medical personnel conduct tests for drugs and alcohol. The results, however, revealed no substances that could explain or excuse his actions. His mind was clear. With this confirmation, the recording devices were activated, and Kevin's confession was captured on film. During the interrogation, when questioned about his animosity towards women, Kevin's response was stark and devoid of emotion. They never loved him. It was a sentiment that revealed deep-seated resentment and a troubled psyche. Kevin recounted how he had taken to the streets at night, using his mother's car to roam the neighborhood. Armed with a knife, rope, and gag, he prowled, searching for a vulnerable victim. In the days leading up to Jennifer's disappearance, Kevin's life had unraveled further. The loss of his employment and the death of a cherished pet had acted as catalysts, driving him to the brink. He described his predatory behavior with chilling precision. On the night of Jennifer's disappearance, he had parked near a gas station, observing a group of girls. He waited patiently, concealed from view, until Jennifer parted ways with her friends and began walking alone. The street was dimly lit, providing Kevin the cover he needed. He struck swiftly, brandishing a knife as he forced Jennifer into his vehicle. He drove her to his home, maintaining a silence to avoid waking his mother, who was unaware of the horror unfolding just beyond her bedroom wall. Once inside his room, Kevin's attempts to overpower Jennifer were met with resistance. In his desperation, he used the knife to silence her, ultimately strangling her until she ceased to breathe. His mother, oblivious, slept through the night. With the confession recorded, detectives pressed Kevin further, asking him to lead them to Jennifer's resting place. Without hesitation, Kevin guided them to a location known only to the investigators, bypassing the decoy site set up for media scrutiny. This precise knowledge confirmed the veracity of his confession. The detectives, though experienced, were taken aback by Kevin's reasoning for confessing. He revealed that a visit from the police weeks prior had triggered a paranoia so intense that he believed his arrest was imminent. This fear spiraled into a conviction that he was constantly under surveillance. His anxiety reached a peak when he asked a colleague to expose his torso, suspecting he might be wired. In the end, Kevin's confession was not just an admission of guilt, but a window into a mind tormented by isolation and fear. His actions were a tragic culmination of internal turmoil, a reminder of the darkness that can lie beneath the surface of the human psyche. The tale of Kevin and Jennifer serves as a haunting reflection on the consequences of unchecked emotions and the profound complexity of the human condition. In the quiet corridors of justice, where shadows often whisper truths untold, the tale of Kevin unfolds with haunting inevitability. Kevin, a man ensnared by the weight of his conscience, found himself trapped between silence and confession. Living under the constant threat of discovery, he decided that admitting his guilt was the sole path to liberation from his inner torment. Little did he know, the authorities had yet to piece together the evidence that could bind him to his crime. Had he chosen silence, his fate might have diverged from the course it tragically took. Yet the die was cast. Kevin was formally charged with murder, his fate sealed within the cold confines of a jail cell as he awaited the wheels of justice to turn. The gravity of his decision dawned upon him too late, as his attempts to retract his confession were met with the unyielding machinery of the law. When his trial commenced in the bleak winter of January 2008, Kevin once more admitted his guilt, seeking perhaps a semblance of redemption or a swift conclusion to his ordeal. This admission expedited his sentencing, a life in prison with the distant hope of parole after a quarter of a century. In a courtroom heavy with silence, Kevin's final words resonated with regret. He expressed a profound desire to undo his actions, to sacrifice his own life if it would restore Jennifer, the life he had taken. Yet, Jennifer's father, present to witness the proceedings, remained unmoved by Kevin's declarations. To him, these words were not the cries of a repentant soul, but rather a calculated attempt to garner leniency. The sentence pronounced, Kevin was led away to a future shrouded in uncertainty, his freedom a mere whisper of possibility. Years passed, and the echoes of that fateful day reverberated through time. By 2015, Jennifer's father had penned a book chronicling the harrowing journey of loss and endurance his family endured. His narrative served as a beacon for others navigating the tumultuous seas of grief, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit even amidst the deepest shadows. This is not the only tale of lives intertwined by tragedy and choice. In another corner of the world, a seemingly innocuous evening in April 2018, in the coastal town of Apalachicola, Florida, set the stage for a narrative equally compelling. Three individuals, Eileen Seiden, a property manager from Miami, alongside her companions Zachary Ebel and Christina Araujo, were captured on camera leaving the Red Pirate restaurant. Their laughter and camaraderie belied the storm brewing beneath the surface, a tempest of jealousy and control poised to unravel in violence. Eileen, a woman shaped by sorrow, had faced life's harshest trials early on. Bereft of her mother at the tender age of 9 and her father by 14, she was thrust into adulthood prematurely, her innocence stolen by the relentless march of fate. These formative years left indelible marks, shaping her path in ways she could scarcely comprehend. The trio, often described as a throuple, were entangled in a complex web of relationships not defined by the progressive ideals of love, but rather by manipulation and obsession. Their story, far from a modern romance, was a chronicle of power dynamics and emotional turmoil, simmering beneath the veneer of normalcy until it erupted with devastating consequences. In the quietude of Florida's forgotten coast, a narrative of human frailty and the quest for connection unfolds, reminding us of the delicate balance between love and destruction and the profound impact of choices made in moments of vulnerability. Through these stories, we are compelled to reflect on the nature of guilt, redemption, and the enduring capacity for healing, even as we navigate the unpredictable currents of life. Amidst the sun-drenched streets of bustling Miami, a tale of ambition and vulnerability unfolded, anchored by the indomitable spirit of a young woman named Eileen. Her journey, marked by determination and resilience, was shaped by the independence she cultivated from a tender age. Yet the road to adulthood was fraught with challenges that threatened to derail her steadfast resolve. Eileen's story was a tapestry woven with familial bonds and personal triumphs. Her older sister Francisco assumed the role of her guardian during those tumultuous years, offering guidance and support as Eileen navigated the complexities of life. Francisco's portrayal of her sister was one of admiration, a testament to Eileen's tenacity. Eileen, a property manager by profession, managed her own affairs with remarkable competence. She lived in a well-appointed apartment, handling bills and responsibilities with a maturity that belied her years. In the year 2016, Eileen's journey took her to Los Angeles, where she spent an extended period with Francisco. This interlude in the City of Angels was a serene chapter for both sisters, a time of solace and reflection. Yet despite the peace she found there, Eileen felt the pull of her past, drawing her back to Miami, a decision that would alter the course of her life. Upon her return, Eileen reconnected with an enigmatic figure from her high school days, Zachary Ebel, a name that lingered in the recesses of her memory, fraught with uncertainty and intrigue. Eileen's confidant, who preferred to be known as Allie, recounted the initial apprehensions that Eileen harbored about Zach. His reputation was questionable, and Eileen hesitated, unsure of the path she was treading. Nevertheless, the allure of the past proved irresistible, and by 2016, Eileen and Zach embarked on a clandestine relationship. Yet the shadow of complication loomed large, for Zach was entangled in a long-standing relationship with Christina Araujo. Their lives were intertwined not only personally but professionally as co-owners of Able Automotive, a used car dealership. The dynamic between Zach and Christina was a volatile one, observed by those around them, including Mike Picovey, a boat captain and friend to both. Mike witnessed the toxic interplay between the couple, urging Zach to sever ties if the relationship was untenable. Yet Zach felt ensnared, immobilized by Christina's threats and the weight of her father's position, a major in the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Department. Christina wheeled. Caught in this web of complexity, Eileen found herself pleading with Zach to choose her over Christina. But Zach's indecision persisted, leaving Eileen in a state of limbo. In 2017, Eileen's professional life took a downturn when she lost her position as a property manager. With limited options, she joined the workforce at Able Automotive, inadvertently stepping into Christina's domain. It was within this charged environment that Christina proposed a radical solution, a suggestion that defied convention and would irrevocably alter their intertwined lives. The idea of a shared romantic relationship, an entanglement of emotions and allegiances, was put forth as a potential resolution to their fraught triangle. As the narrative of Eileen, Zach, and Christina unfolded, it became a poignant exploration of human connections and the fragile boundaries of love and loyalty. In the dance of choice and consequence, Eileen's story serves as a reflection on the paths we take and the shadows of the past that shape our destinies. It is a reminder that in the pursuit of independence, we must also reckon with the ties that bind us, for they hold the power to guide or ensnare us in equal measure. The saga of Eileen, Zach, and Christina is one of entangled emotions, volatile tempers, and the dark shadows cast by a love triangle that spiraled out of control. Initially, an unconventional arrangement was seen as a potential solution to their entangled affections. Yet rather than resolving the tension, it became a catalyst for a storm of chaos and discord. Eileen recalls the immediate shift in dynamics, where the triangular relationship left one person perpetually sidelined, fostering resentment and jealousy. The tension simmered until it erupted into frequent altercations, exacerbated by the haze of alcohol and the smoldering embers of insecurity. It was a volatile cocktail that led to physical confrontations, with Eileen and Christina bearing the visible marks of their internal turmoil. However, those close to the trio observed that the violence was disproportionately directed at Eileen, with Zach often at the epicenter of aggression. Eileen's phone would ring with Eileen's desperate pleas. Each call was a cry for help, a recounting of fresh wounds inflicted by Zach. Eileen would rush to her side, documenting the evidence of abuse in photographs, urging Eileen to seek justice. But fear held Eileen captive. Fear of Christina's threats and the formidable influence wielded by her family within the corridors of law enforcement. Christina's lineage was a shield, a reminder that she was seemingly untouchable, having evaded consequences in the past. The violence crescendoed, culminating in a hospital visit for Eileen. Yet even then, her lips remained sealed, guarding the secrets of her bruises. Eileen, steadfast in her support, continued her documentation, her pleas intensifying. "You must leave him or someone will die." But Eileen remained ensnared, moving in with Zach and Christina despite the escalating peril. By the year 2018, the situation had deteriorated further. Eileen's sister, Francesca, was gripped by escalating concern. Her sister's entrapment mirrored the harrowing reality faced by countless victims of domestic abuse. Francesca's entreaties fell on deaf ears as Eileen remained ensnared in a web woven from fear and manipulation. The turning point came in the spring of 2018. A violent altercation between Zach and Christina served as a catalyst for change. Eileen, seizing the moment, departed with Zach, leaving the toxic environment of Miami behind. Their destination was Dallas, Texas, where they sought refuge with a friend. For a fleeting 48 hours, they severed ties with Christina, ignoring her barrage of over 150 messages, each oscillating between panic and fury. But Zach, succumbing to pressure, invited Christina to reunite with them, a decision that reignited the toxic triangle with renewed intensity. The trio embarked on a journey back towards Florida, pausing in New Orleans. It was here that Aline's realization crystallized. Her life was in grave danger. A call to Francesca revealed her fear. "I think they're going to kill me." Francesca's response was urgent, imploring her sister to flee to seek safety. But Aline felt the weight of her circumstances, replying, "I can't." Despite her entrapment, Aline's resolve to escape intensified. With the aid of her steadfast friend, Allie, a clandestine plan began to take shape, a beacon of hope amidst the darkness. In the intricate dance of human relationships, the boundaries between love and obsession blur, leaving in their wake profound consequences. Through the storm of emotion and the shadows of fear, the threads of connection unravel, revealing the resilience of the human spirit in its quest for freedom. The plan had been straightforward. Aline was to journey to Florida, where she would board a Greyhound bus departing from Tampa, leaving behind the life she knew. But fate had other designs. On April 21, 2018, Aline, along with Zach and Christina, arrived in the small, unassuming town of Apalachicola, Florida. Their evening unfolded with a casual dinner at the local Redentanius. Decision was made to extend their stay by another day. A recommendation from a local led them to the Sportsman's Lodge Motel, where they secured the last available accommodation, room 15. Little did Aline know this detour would mark the beginning of the end. The dawn of April 22, 2018, broke with the promise of another ordinary day in their journey. Surveillance cameras captured the trio at a nearby liquor store, acquiring bottles of Fireball whiskey and vodka. To the store clerk, they appeared to be nothing more than tourists, perhaps eager to savor another day under the Floridian sun. Yet beneath this veneer of normalcy, a tempest brewed. The road trip, initially intended to distance Aline and Zach from Christina, had instead exacerbated the tensions. Christina, left behind and seething with betrayal, discovered Aline and Zach's plan to abandon her entirely. This revelation was a catalyst, unleashing a storm of emotions. Mike Piccovey, a mutual acquaintance, would later confide to investigators his foreboding premonitions. "I thought Aline would end up dead on that." Back at the Sportsman's Lodge Motel, room 15 became a cauldron of chaos. The day was spent indulging in alcohol, a familiar accelerant in their volatile relationship. By evening, the latent tensions erupted into a full-blown confrontation. What transpired within those four walls would unravel in two conflicting narratives, each survivor accusing the other. Yet the forensic evidence left no room for ambiguity, unveiling a tale of almost unfathomable savagery. Christina Araujo's testimony painted a grim picture. According to her account, a heated argument escalated after hours of drinking, during which Zach allegedly lost control. She described a scene of horrific violence, recounting how Zach assaulted Aline with his fists, repeatedly striking her, and even resorting to biting. Christina claimed it was the most brutal act she had ever witnessed. Contrasting sharply, Zach offered a different version of events. He asserted that he had been asleep, only to awaken to the sight of Christina standing over Aline's lifeless form, insinuating that Christina had committed the heinous act while he lay unaware. The crime scene, however, spoke with a clarity that neither testimony could obscure. Room 15 was transformed into a tableau of horror, with blood smeared across nearly every surface. The sheer volume of blood was so overwhelming that it left even the most seasoned detectives visibly shaken. In the wake of this tragedy, the truth remains shrouded in ambiguity, a tapestry woven from the threads of human frailty and desperation. As the investigation unfolded, it became clear that the events of that fateful night were a culmination of choices, each leading inexorably to a point of no return. In the quiet aftermath, one is left to ponder the fragile nature of trust, and the dark potential that lies within the human heart. In the early hours of the morning, the world was still cloaked in the shadow of night. Yet within the confines of a modest motel room, a tragic story of violence and betrayal unfolded with chilling clarity. Investigator Ronnie Jones would later speak of the gravity of the scene, noting the extensive bruising that marred Aline's body from head to toe, a testament to the brutality she endured. The medical examiner's report would only confirm what the eyes had already seen. Aline had been subjected to a level of violence rarely witnessed outside of catastrophic events. Her ribs, nearly all of them shattered, bore the hallmarks of a high-impact collision, the kind typically seen in severe car accidents. The cause of death was determined to be blunt force trauma, delivered with such ferocity to her head, chest, and abdomen that it had led to catastrophic internal bleeding. Yet the story of violence did not end with mere fists. Christina, a key witness, recounted how Zach small circular bruises scattered across her skin. As if this were not enough, he then reached for a wooden walking stick, an innocuous piece of driftwood he was known to carry, and beat her until the wood snapped under the force. Most disturbingly, Christina claimed that Zach had taken the broken piece of wood to further assault Aline. By the break of dawn, Aline lay lifeless. This tragedy was not merely an act of violence. It was a betrayal of trust. Aline, a woman who had faced the loss of her parents at a tender age, had fought to carve out a life for herself in the vibrant city of Miami. She had entrusted her heart and safety to Zach and Christina, unaware that they would ultimately become her demise. Instead of seeking help or dialing the emergency services, the pair made a decision steeped in cold calculation. They wrapped Aline's lifeless form in a sheet, transporting her from room 15 in an act caught on surveillance cameras. The footage showed only two figures walking side by side to their car, but concealed between them was the body of the woman they professed to love. Their journey took them 6 miles away to a desolate cul-de-sac off Highway 98, where they disemtask, swinging Aline's body into the woods with a callous disregard for the person she had been. Having disposed of her remains, they returned to the motel room, where the acrid scent of vinegar betrayed their futile attempt to cleanse the scene of their crime. Yet, the truth lingered, embedded in the very walls and floors of the room. Detectives, armed with luminol, unveiled the hidden narrative written in blood. The room glowed with the phosphorescent traces of violence, with stains in every corner marking the places where Aline's life had ebbed away. The remnants of the walking stick, smeared with her DNA, were found both within the confines of the room and the interior of their car. As the sun rose on the morning of April 23, 2018, Zach and Christina emerged from the Sportsman's Lodge motel, leaving behind a tableau of devastation. The room they left was soaked in blood, the air heavy with the echoes of a life violently extinguished, and the shattered remnants of what once were 3 intertwined lives. Yet, as they attempted to walk away from the scene of their crime, they could not escape the indelible mark of their actions. In the end, the truth has a way of surfacing, a testament to the enduring power of justice and the unyielding quest for truth in the face of darkness. Office, where the truth began to unravel in a series of chilling revelations. In the stark confines of the interrogation room, the story of Aline Seiden's tragic end took shape, a narrative woven from threads of betrayal, fear, and violence. The investigation, led by Lieutenant Ronnie Jones, was now a race against time, as each passing hour threatened to obscure the truth behind a veil of deception. The initial examination of the crime scene had already painted a grim picture. The brutality inflicted upon Aline was not just a singular act of violence, but a crescendo of rage that left seasoned officers grappling with the horror of human capability. As forensic experts meticulously combed through the evidence, the pieces began to form a disturbing mosaic. The blood patterns, the defensive wounds, and the trajectory of the struggle told a story that words could barely capture. It was a tale of a young woman ensnared in a tragic web, her life extinguished in a moment of unimaginable terror. The forensic team's use of luminol in room 15 had revealed the full extent of the violence. Under its eerie glow, the bathroom walls bore silent witness to the night's grim events. The DNA evidence was irrefutable, tying the crime scene to the body found by the unsuspecting couple at the pond. Aline Seiden was no longer a Jane Doe. She was a daughter, a friend, and now a victim whose story demanded justice. With the identity of the victim confirmed, the investigation shifted focus to those last seen with her. Zachary Abel and Christina Araujo, who had shared room 15 with Aline, emerged as prime suspects. Their journey southward, away from the scene of the crime, was a desperate attempt to flee the tightening noose of law enforcement. Yet their escape was shadowed by the specter of their actions, a truth too heavy to bear. As they arrived at Mike Picave's doorstep, the facade began to crumble. Zachary's confession, pried from him by Picave's relentless questioning, was a turning point. It was a moment where fear and loyalty collided, leaving Zachary exposed and vulnerable. Christina's attempt to conceal the truth unraveled under the weight of her own duplicity. Her casual dismissal of Aline's fate as a mere disappearance was a thread that, once pulled, revealed the depth of her involvement. Picave's decision to involve Tony Araujo, despite the personal risk, was a testament to his moral compass. In the face of danger, he chose to act, setting in motion a chain of events that would bring the perpetrators to justice. Tony, confronted with the enormity of his daughter's crime, faced an agonizing dilemma. Yet his duty as an officer of the law prevailed over familial bonds, a decision that would ultimately lead to Christina's arrest. As the investigation unfolded, the layers of this tragic narrative were peeled back, revealing a complex tapestry of human emotion. It was a story of innocence lost and innocence betrayed, of a young woman whose life was cut short by those she considered friends. The case of Aline Seiden serves as a poignant reminder of the darkness that can reside within and the enduring quest for justice that seeks to dispel it. In the end, it is not just the resolution of a crime that brings closure, but the collective reflection on the fragility of trust and the profound impact of our choices. The day unfolded with an air of inevitability. As the sun cast its final rays, investigators presented Picave with a photograph, a haunting image of an unidentified body discovered near the forlorn stretch of Highway 98. In that moment, Picave's grim acknowledgement confirmed the police's worst fears. It was indeed Aline, whose disappearance had cast a long shadow over those who knew her. With this confirmation, the wheels of justice began to turn with relentless speed. Law enforcement descended upon Picave's residence, where Zach and Christina were on the cusp of departure. The gravity of their alleged actions ensnared them, leading to their arrest on charges of first-degree murder. The evidence arrayed against them was formidable, yet both Zach and Christina maintained their innocence, each casting blame upon the other in a desperate bid for self-preservation. The ensuing legal journey was a protracted ordeal for Aline's family, a grueling 6-year odyssey through the labyrinthine corridors of the justice system. In the year 2023, a pivotal development occurred. Christina Araujo, faced with the weight of the evidence, chose to break her silence. She accepted a plea deal, confessing to second-degree murder and agreeing to testify against Zach in return for a 25-year sentence. Having endured over 5 years of incarceration already, her release would come in her late 50s. As the calendar turned to January 2024, Zachary Abel's trial commenced, a nearly 6-year chasm since Aline's tragic demise. On the witness stand, Christina recounted a harrowing tale of violence, implicating Zach in a vicious assault. Yet, Zach's defense painted a starkly different narrative, portraying Christina as the mastermind, driven by jealousy over Zach and Aline's plans to start anew without her. Text messages, laden with threats, were introduced as evidence of Christina's volatile state of mind. The defense further contended that Zach's palm, a misguided attempt to shield Christina from the consequences of her actions. The jury, after 5 tense hours of deliberation, rendered their verdict. In the matter of Florida versus Zachary Ray Abel, the jury found him guilty of second-degree murder. While they did not believe Zach harbored the intent to kill, they were convinced of his culpability in the events leading to Aleen's death. On April 10, 2024, in a courtroom heavy with the weight of justice, Judge Frank Allman pronounced Zachary Abel's fate: life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. As the gavel fell, marking the end of a long and arduous chapter, the case left an indelible mark, a poignant reminder of the fragility of trust and the profound consequences of betrayal. In the quiet aftermath, one is left to ponder the complexities of human nature and the choices that irrevocably alter the course of lives intertwined by fate.